Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Motivate You to Win a Circle here with your host, June Archer. My guest today started golfing at the age of 7. Wow. While studying business and accounting at Jackson State University, she won nine collegiate golf tournaments, along with 4 individual SWAC conference championships, setting the conference record of 6 under par. We're going to talk about that with her. In 2011, she earned her LPGA Tour card, becoming only the 4th African-American woman to earn this status. Please welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen, Shasta Averyhardt. Shasta, how you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I am excited. I love listening and watching some of these things that I saw online with you. I want to ask you, at age 7, between 7 and 10, you started golfing. Who inspired you, or what inspired you to pick up the golf clubs?
Well, my dad, he's an avid golfer. And at that time, he was working in the prosecutor's office. And so clearly, it's a high level stress job. And so his outlet was to go play golf after work. And so the days that he needed to babysit me, he would take me with him to the golf course. And at that time, he'd just give me like a putter and I'll be running around all over the place, like doing whatever it was I was doing. And then finally, somebody was like, hey, I have these all pink set of golf clubs. So it was the bag, the head covers, the grips, like the golf balls. It was everything pink. And he was like, okay, great. Cut it down to my size. And he was like, look what dad has for you. You can, you want to play golf. And I was like, yeah, I want to play, I want to play golf like my dad. And so all he would do is be like, okay, watch daddy. And so I would watch him hit. And as I was kind of just picking up on like some of the like setup and he would help me with that, but I just kind of started doing what he was doing and just whacking at it. And we would sometimes, if we weren't on the range, we would go to like a field, like an old park or whatever in the Flint, because we had so many of them in the Flint area. So he would take a shag bag and we would just hit like I would hit little shots and then he'd be like, all right, let's go shag them. Now at that time it was fun to do, but like now I would never want to do that.
That is the 10,000 hours that people talk
Yeah.
about these days that you forget about.
Yeah.
Tiger Woods is one of your inspirations.
Yes.
What was it about Tiger Woods, for those who don't know the Shasta Averyhardt story just yet? What was it about Tiger Woods that inspired you to want to continue? Your dad obviously introduced you to the game, but there's more to it than just being introduced to something. There is a passion, there's a love that has to happen. And you had Tiger Woods as an inspiration. Why was he your inspiration?
Well, Tiger made the game cool. And when he come onto the scene, he's like, I had a crush on him, of course. And he's out there, he's swinging aggressively at a golf ball. It's going a mile long. He's rocking, nice little gold chain. He just looked like he had swagger, and it was just something different than what I was seeing prior to that. And so he made the game exciting with all these fabulous shots he was hitting. And so for years, I mean, up until now, like even now, like I'm always, if Tiger's playing, I'm watching. Or if I'm following on my phone, I'm doing something to see like what's Tiger gonna do. And it's just, he's obviously has broke so many barriers and has elevated the game to a level that no one else has been able to do.
And he is, for those non-golfers, I've been golfing for a while. My good friend Ray Allen got me golfing
Yeah, nice.
when we were in college. And for me, Tiger was an inspiration as well. But I knew I wasn't going to be a professional golfer, but he inspired me by what he was accomplishing, especially for a man of color at that time and breaking the records. And I think, the stigma was it wasn't a game for people of color. For you, being the 4th woman on an LPGA tour, what was it like for you being in that spot? Like, it's not something that we see all the time. I'm starting to see a lot of you sisters picking up this golf, club, and you guys are putting in the work. You guys are making strides in this profession. What was it like being just the 4th African-American woman at the LPGA?
Well, even before I earned my tour card, um, when I would go to junior tournaments, when I started recognizing that there was no one else that looked like myself and my father traveled with me to my tournaments, and I kind of started realizing this. I'm like, nobody else out here looks like me. And so I had to start sometimes like you feel a little insecure about it. So you're young, young girl growing up, and like you're feeling weird, like you got this big wild hair, you're tall, skinny, you're mixed. It's just all these insecurities I had to bottle up and be like, you know what? You got to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Mm,
And that's something I had to learn early on. You need to learn how to adapt because it's like I had 2, 3 different worlds. I had a world in golf that I needed to be like, and then I had to be a certain way when I went to grade school. Like, I grew up in a Flint public school system, so it was a lot of it's basically an interstate school system. So you got to be that certain way. And then I had to be a certain way around my family. So I learned how to adapt in different situations. And so finally being able to get my tour card, at that time, I didn't really realize how big of a deal it was because to me, I just looked like I'm a woman playing professional golf and doing what I dreamed of doing. But as I started to understand the history of what happened and understanding just all the barriers like Renee Powell had to go through to break down for a player like myself, um, I felt really happy. Like I just felt like, hey, you need to embrace this. And so I think for me, like I'm mixed. So off the bat, people are probably gonna wonder, like, what are you? They're not gonna really know right away until maybe they start having a conversation with me or what have you. But at that time, I felt alone on tour a lot because although I knew a lot of people, a lot of acquaintances, it was hard to relate to some of the players because of how I grew up. I love hip hop music, R&B music. I my family, like we're from Flint, so if anybody knows,
right.
it's like I'm
We know
from.
the history. They understand.
Yeah, so it was really hard sometimes. And even though I knew how to adapt and I did, there were moments where I felt like I was really missing having that unity like I normally did, off the course.
How important, as you mentioned, you come from a multicultural background. How important uh, was it that your family was able to support your dream and vision? Your dad, obviously, like we said, inspired you. You had the Tiger Woods piece. Golf is not a cheap game. It's a very expensive game,
Yes, it is.
and it takes a lot. Uh, just bringing someone out to just go to the range, could cause if you're doing it properly, and by all means, you have to educate us on what that means. When we say going to the golf range, some people just, hey, let's go to the golf range and hit some balls, and they get a bucket of balls. It costs them $10. But we're talking about on the level that you are striving to be on. What kind of work goes into it? Like, take us from the golf range to golf lessons to, and even if you can, educate people on what Q school means when you actually get to that point.
Oh yeah. So my dad taught me how to play leading up to around my freshman year of high school. But before that, we were never in a position where we could be like members at a country club. We just didn't have that family income, and so I would just practice at public golf courses. And we had to be very smart about how I utilize my time at the course because we couldn't just go every day. I couldn't get a big old basket of golf balls and hit on the range and work on whatever it was I wanted to work on, and then go over and work on my chipping and putting and my pitching on a daily basis. So what we had to do was we had to use the time wisely. If we had to go every other day. And luckily I played another sport, so that took me out of commission for a few months anyways. And so we made it work that way in regards to just learning the basics of the game. And then when my freshman year of high school came, I was like, look, I really want to do this, take this serious. And because I was like, I'm pretty good at this. And so we got a swing instructor in the local area, and I would get lessons with him. And I think he charged about like $40, $50 per hour. And so we had to also be smart with that because my dad was like, listen, after the lesson, write down what, and at the time, my first swing coach was Jack Seltzer. And he was like, write down what Jack told you because I don't want to have to keep paying for a lesson that
Same
you
information.
know
Right.
over and over again because we're wasting money. And I understood finances at that point. And so I was like, okay. So I had a little journal and I was just writing down, Jack told me this, this, and this, and this. And so I'd always reference it when I went to practice if I was hitting my ball the same way that I wasn't supposed to be hitting it and I need to correct it. So that's one of the things that we did, at least up until I went to Jackson State. And then also the mental side. So my dad would get these golf books like Zen Golf. It was another one. It was by the Vision 54 coaches, Lynn Marriott and Pia Nelson. All their books are phenomenal. And they really teach you about how to play the game. And from a mental standpoint and how to practice the right way, like practice like how you play. And so that was another component that really elevated my game was because sometimes I felt like I was wasting my time. I'm out here practicing and I'm not getting better. And so I had to really like simulate practice like I was playing. And so in college, I did, maintain that. Obviously, the hours increased. And I still maintain. I switched. I went through a lot of swing coaches over the years. Just sometimes you want fresh ideas. Not that somebody's bad or what have you. Just kind of want to see what's out there, and like dating. So,
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it. So, by that time, I was graduating college. In order to play professionally, you need money to play, and you look at it as a small business, and you need upfront capital. And what is going to be your budget for that year? And so we were just looking around for sponsorship opportunities, and we finally came across Sister Across America through a friend. And I sent my playing resume in, and they approved it. And they said, here's X amount number of dollars that we can give you for the year. But I also still worked, like at the golf. So I went and worked at the golf course at a country club so I could have privileges so I won't have to pay for a membership. I can still yeah, because like at this point now, like I grew up playing public courses. They were still really great shape. I knew how to play on a lot of the country club courses, but most of the tournaments that I'm playing or competing in are on really tough conditions. And so I figured I need to be practicing at a facility that is similar. And so I just had to figure out a way to do it without paying for it right out of my sponsor money because I want that money to be allocated towards like travel expenses and entry fees. So that's kind of the strategy that we had to take and made it work, and obviously more resources you have, I think the longer you can stay involved with the game. And that I've learned throughout the years of that's why I had to stop working, for 2.5 years. So that's kind of how you get from point A to point Z.
Now, for you, going to public school in Flint, going to Jackson State, what was that transition like? And how does one person of color, whether it's male or female, how are they setting themselves up, lining themselves up to get considered or be able to earn a scholarship to play golf? And how often does that happen for men and women of color?
I think it happens often. It just depends on the interest level too. So, number one, you gotta have some money to play. Like, it's gonna be really challenging if you come from a very low class family. Like, it's gonna be hard. I don't know. I can't say you can't do it, but it's gonna be tougher. You have to study the game. You got to learn, you got to start understanding about the swing, how to play the game. You study the people that are the greats. And, YouTube is a perfect platform to use.
Right.
I'm looking up Tiger videos from like the 90s and early 2000s.
When he was in his prime. When he was in his prime.
Yes.
Why would you go back and watch that film?
Absolutely. That's exactly what, you could do now. But at that time, I had Tiger Woods' How I Play Golf book. I would read through that. I had other golf books that I would read through. It was just because I made a commitment, like, this is what I'm going to do, and we're going to figure it out. And when I got to Jackson State, I went on a visit. I've never been to Mississippi before. And so on my visit, I'm like, okay, this is cool. It was a culture shock because it's the South, but everybody was really nice. And it was weird because coming from like Michigan or up north, you just like, I don't know you, I'm not speaking to you. Yeah. So that in itself was an adjustment. And then when we got back home, I was like, I'm not going there. I was like, it's too far from home. Um, and he was like, Shasta, we need to weigh all of our options. So we're looking at all the universities that had an offer on the table. And Jackson State overall had the best offer. And I can graduate school with zero debt. And I find that being able to even get a golf scholarship, it's almost as if the money that is spent to play golf is your college tuition.
Right, right. It's expensive.
Because if you really think about it, because it's an investment, like
Right.
you're investing, like it's a family investment. That's how I really started to view it. And so I knew that I needed to take it serious. And at any point I didn't want to do it, I need to let my parents know because I'm not going to have them spend another dime. And um, I didn't even know what HBCU was until I was in class. It was my first class, University 101, and they were talking about HBCUs, and I'm like, what the heck is HBCU?
This was at Jackson State. This is while you were.
Yes, I didn't know. And
Wow.
so, and of course I didn't know because I grew up north. My father's a U of M grad. So I'm anticipating I'm going to follow his footsteps and be a legacy. Well, I took a different direction. And so I'm learning about all of this, the South in general, just deeper details and HBCU. And it was very rewarding overall. And I think that the transition from Flint to Jackson, it wasn't that big of a transition as people would think because I was in Flint public school system. So I was already used to being in the inner city, and that wasn't an issue for me. I knew like I already knew what to anticipate.
How was the diversity in Flint in the public school system?
Elementary school, I would say it was about from my district where we're at, so on the south side, probably about 65, 70% Caucasian. Um, and then middle school was about 70% Black. And then the high school I chose to go to, I would say it was about 60% Black.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, that's about right.
So when did you fall in love with the game? Now, because just because you went and you were playing at Jackson,
Mhm.
did you fall in love like your years in high school, or did you fall in love in college, or did you fall in love knowing, hey, I have the opportunity of really making a career out of this? Because I feel like, Shasta, some people don't fall in love with their dream until they can see the monetary gain from it, right? When you're putting in those 10,000 hours, when you're out there in the dark at the golf range, and I was told sometimes you got to hit 100 balls before you should hit at least 20 buckets before you leave. This is work that you're putting in. This is practicing your swing, not to mention how many of the clubs you're using, how many drivers you're using. Are you using all your irons? Are you putting? Are you chipping? When people start hearing about they know the A to the Z, but between the B and the Y, when you tell them like you gotta really no, this is serious business. Like if you want to get out there, you know, you got to really put the work in. For you, when did you fall in love with it? And do you fall in and out of love with it?
Oh, all the time. It's a love-hate relationship, but more love than hate. And I would say I fell in love with the game. It was probably around my junior, senior year of high school. I started to really I took like a quantum leap. And it was like a breakthrough. And I was winning qualifiers, junior events, and it was fun. It was so immersed in the moment. And and then you go through a stretch where you hate the game, but you still go because you
Right.
love it.
Right.
And so because you invested so much that you were not going to let it go. And then it wasn't until my sophomore year at our SWAC championship. I don't know. I just was feeling so great that week. And I just felt like even if I snap hooked my drive into the hazard, I knew I could still get it up and down for par. I felt so optimistic about my game and
Mm,
positive no matter what was happening, that I was able to just shoot back to back 69s and with ease. Whether whoever I was playing, it didn't matter because I was playing the golf course, which is really
right.
the mentality you should have anyways. But after I did that, I was just like, I really I want to play this, like I want to do this when I graduate. Like this is what I'm doing. I understand I'm majoring in accounting, but that's because I want to be able to manage my own finances.
Right. Right.
And then if I needed to fall back, at the time I didn't understand you really shouldn't be thinking about a plan B, but everyone's always like, have a fallback plan, you know. Now that I think about it, if you even start looking at a plan B, it's gonna happen.
You're setting yourself up for failure.
You're setting yourself up. And that's what I learned later on, clearly. But it was just, I knew I wanted to play golf. And that's where my heart was. And that was where all the investment and dedication and the sacrifice, like just sacrificing social life and family vacations and just knowing that it's going to pay off at some point with something, whether it's monetary or um, just in life in general.
Now, I've heard this plenty of times throughout life when I picked up the sport. I want you to share with us. People say that golf is like life. It's like the game of life. How can how can people relate that? For some people want to get into golf and just understanding, like you said, you fall in love with it, fall out of love with it. It gets tough. For you, you've experienced injury, you've experienced not making the cut, right? How is golf equated to life, and how people can actually bounce back from adversity, bounce back from running up against obstacles? How can you explain to someone playing the game can teach you a little bit more about life?
Well, yeah, because the game actually does relate a lot to life. And I would say for me, times where I really just wanted to quit because I was so frustrated at not seeing the results. And that was the big thing. Like when you're doing something, you want to see the results immediately.
Right,
And
right,
if you don't see the results, you're like, I am wasting my time or I'm doing something wrong. And so that's when you learn about the process, that if you find yourself constantly going back to something, it like you'll step away and then you'll go back and you're constantly this fight with whatever it is that you want to do. It's because there's something internally that's telling you this is your path, but you need to really believe in the process and know that you need to embrace the highs and the lows. And there's going to be lows no matter what you do. It's not going to be smooth sailing. And for with golf, I mean, it teaches you obviously about life skills, work ethic, honesty, integrity, confidence. Because if you got to have confidence to play the game of golf. Um, you can't be out there down and with a pity party because you're going to play terribly. And you also can't be overly confident because you could be going cruising along and then you hit a plug lie in the
right.
bunker.
Shake something,
And you're
and
like, what?
find
And
yourself in work. You can't get out.
yeah, and and you short-sighted yourself, so you know you're completely screwed, and so and humbled you really quickly, and so with golf, even there's moments where you're like, okay, like I went out and like yesterday I played a little money game with some players. Actually, one of the LPGA players came over in my club, and her and I teamed up against two other people, and we ended up winning. But I played crappy on the front nine, and I was like, I really know that I need to be working on something on this particular aspect of my game, but I don't want to do it. So I didn't do it yesterday. And I was thinking about it. I was doing my taxes last night and I was like, you have to spend the time doing it. You have to do it. You got to do it tomorrow because in order for you to get out on the other side and be able to execute the shot consistently, you have to put in the work. Even if you're hitting it terribly, just keep going.
I think that's important because some people, we tend to get into a rut and they don't want to do the work. They want the accolades. They
Yeah.
want to get the trophies, the recognition, but
Yeah.
the day-to-day grind, like you said, for someone like you, you're a professional golfer. Even you find yourself in those situations. Like you said yesterday, you just didn't. I just don't want to do the work today. But you do know that at some point to get better, you have to put in the work. It,
Hmm.
it is a must. I feel like we get in these situations and times where you have these big lofty dreams and these goals that you want to attain, but when someone tells you, and I've heard this millions of times, it takes 15 years, 10 to 15 years to become an overnight success, right? And people, they never believe that. And when they see, oh, Shasta Averyhardt, she's won the LPGA, and like overnight sensation. Look at what she's done. You're like,
Like,
doing
no.
this since I was 17 years old. Like this is new to you.
Mhm.
You know, for you, for that person who is watching and listening, what is the best piece of advice that you have been given that allows you to go out there and get it when you run up against adversity, when it hurts, when your back hurts, when your wrist hurts, when you're just not focused? What was the best piece of advice that you've been given to get back into and lock into that focus?
I think that I've received a lot of really good advice over the years. So I can't pinpoint that there's been one in particular, but I can say that just compiling a lot of pieces of advice I received from so many influential people in my life, I would say that when when you're when you're struggling, it's really easy just to quit
Mm,
and you feel better. You're like, okay, I'll do something else. But overall, if you keep doing that over and over and over again, you're going to feel like you've wasted. It's almost as you feel like you've wasted your gift, your talent, your almost like your life away. Because what about if you just stuck with it? What would happen?
wow, yeah. Repeat that for the people who are listening and watching. Repeat that.
What if you just stuck with it
Mhm.
through the thick and thin and just kept going? Like, what would happen? What about if you just gave it 100% of yourself and you believing in yourself and knowing that you can do it, even when adversity strikes? Like, what would happen? I mean, even like Tony Robbins, like I love listening to Tony Robbins, and he's talking about massive action
Mm.
is going to equate to massive results. And so if you have any shred of doubt, you will not make it. And I can tell you firsthand that I've had so many doubts in different scenarios. And sure enough, it didn't happen. And it was because I had that 1%. I don't care if it's 1%, it's not happening.
That alone, that 1% alone could
Yes.
turn the tide. And
Yes.
people get stuck on that. They're like, nah, I was just thinking it, but not realizing that you planted that seed. And that seed
Mhm.
of doubt will grow. Just like if you're confident that you can do something and you plant that seed, it is possible that it can happen. But that 1%, Shasta, that's super important that you shared that. That 1% doubt is what will determine sometimes the outcome. And you know what people say sometimes, Shasta? I knew it wasn't going to happen. No,
Yeah, to
you
protect
didn't know.
themselves,
Yeah, you didn't know that was
their
going to happen.
ego, their pride, their ego, so they won't have to grieve the fact that they didn't give it their all, and they know deep down inside you did not give it your all, and this is why it didn't work.
You have been an advocate for young people. you are a part of the Women of Color organization. I want to talk about that and why you got involved with that and your passion around introducing the game to young people of color. But I'm certain you just want young people to go out and experience this game, but especially our children of color, exposing them to this game. Why was this organization important to you, and what are you doing along with it?
So right now we're not. It was only for 1 year. So it was in 2017, and we worked together to just kind of spread awareness, and then kind of just use myself as an example that, like, hey, like if you really want to do this and go all out, like you could play professionally if you like. If not, you could just play recreationally. Like it's fine. And how we got in contact was I was on Instagram one evening and I was just scrolling and I saw that it said like who liked your photo. You could sometimes I don't really pay attention to that, but I happened to see women of color golf, and I was like, oh, I was like, what's that? And so I clicked and I was like, oh, I'll follow them back, and so they posted a photo. And it looked like the harbor in like the harbor island over in Tampa. And so and at that time I was living in Tampa and I was like, and they live in Tampa. I was like, let me message them real quick. I was like, I know where you're at, And
Right.
so Clemmy Perry was like, well, let's meet up. And so we met up and she talked about her mission and how she got involved with the game and what she wants to do. And I was like, okay, well, let's partner together. I think that'd be really great. And so although I started back playing again that year and I actually start traveling a little bit, I wasn't around, but I did definitely do my part to help, whether it was going to speak to some of the young girls, some of the ladies about my experiences, and just like anything I could do to help is where I definitely lent a hand. And then following year, Sadina Parks was brought in, and so it was really cool. I thought it was nice to like rotate like each player, like
Right.
there's so plenty.
No,
Maybe not a whole lot, but
there's
some of us.
plenty of y'all doing it. I want to
Yeah.
see, and listen, I will write a check. I want to see whether you're going to be involved again or however we can support it. I would love to support it on your behalf to just make sure that our young people have options, that they know that there's other things other than just rapping and singing and playing basketball, playing football.
Or
I think the more exposure to different things will allow them to be culturally gifted on the level that we haven't seen young people of color, especially in the inner cities, have the opportunity to have. I want to ask you. I want you to take us on the golf course.
okay.
On a course, you said you're a hip hop head. You love R&B. What do you listen to get amped for a game? Like you listening to Jay? You listen to some Biggie? Or you listen to Drake? Like what gets you focused and in the zone?
Let me see. So, are you talking about like a tournament, or just practice? Like
Let, let's say practice, because I got another question for you as it relates to music. So let's talk about practice. When you get in the zone, like what do you rock to?
So lately, I've been listening to her, and I really like. I found that I can't really listen to too much like fast tempo music because my tempo with my swing gets too fast. And so
Okay.
it's like I'm not aware of what I'm doing because sometimes I do need to be focused on like, okay, slow the tempo down. Let's do 25%. Let's do 50%, especially on doing a drill or what have you. But listen to her. Some of the like slower tempo music options out there. Who else I have on there? Um, I'm like blanking right now because I got so many artists on my playlist. Summer Walker, Justine Sky. So that's what kind of gets like I'll start listening to that, especially like in a practice. And then sometimes I'll switch over to it's like artists that like some artists that it's just like I like the song. So I don't even know who it is. I just like the song.
Was that like the song? Right?
I like Big Sean. Yeah, I like Cat Music
Sean's big.
Tree.
Sean's
Yeah,
big.
I
Okay.
like Big Sean. And I'll sometimes listen to some of his songs and wait for a new album to come out, obviously. And Janae, I like, his girlfriend. Janae was how you say her last name? I'm so bad at this.
Janae Aiko.
Aiko. Yeah, I like her music a
The
lot.
new album is fire.
Yes, I
Uh,
yes, I like it.
yeah, I
I
don't, that
like
new album is saying something, speaking to me.
it.
Um, for you, what is next for you, Shasta? We know you got the tour stuff going on. You're doing your thing. We know that you are well versed when it comes to accounting. Uh, what is your next thing that you're going to have that we can actually see you doing and support you?
Well, right now, I mean, everybody's in like, a dilemma right now with COVID-19. We've actually our tour has been postponed, obviously, but we should resume mid June. And it's still up in the air because we also have to consider we have a lot of international players, and so the travel bans we don't know if they're going to be lifted or not. So
Right.
that's one of the things that I was watching the video the commissioner had sent out. So just an announcement to kind of let us, the players know, keep us in the loop because we're going to be playing all the way through the first week of December. No, excuse me, the first week no, the week before Christmas. So the
Okay.
US Open will be in December in Houston. And I mean, just everything's just really it's odd, but where we're at right now. And in regards to anything else, there's I kind of want to be quiet about it. I'll probably wait until it happens.
Listen,
But it's
this platform speaks everything into existence. That's why it's called the winner circle. It's why it's called motivate you. But we're gonna be praying for you no
that's
matter what.
true.
We don't listen. We don't block our blessings. The only reason why we block our blessings is when we don't speak anything into existence. Don't ask,
Right.
don't get. So
That's true.
yeah,
I have this. So my friend Sadine and she's like my sister, and so she was the fifth African American woman to join the LPGA tour, and her and I have this idea for a golf show, and so right now it's been postponed. I mean, for obvious reasons,
right.
but we're looking at when would be a good time. We need to shop around, see if the network's going to pick up our idea. And then after that, we had to figure out when we're going to film. But we kind of wanted to do something different that will kind of change the way people perceive women's golf, and also too having women of color involved.
I love it.
And so that's something that I'm like, once I say I'm going to do something, like I am committed and I'm like aggressive, like, and I'm like emailing, like calling, like, hey, can we have a conference call? When are we going to talk again? Like, and sending all the information I'm supposed to, at least for my part. So that's one of the things definitely wanted to get started at some point, but also, I want to do a little bit more with Jackson State. Our team, our men and women's team has been suspended, and they're thinking about reinstating. And just kind of tough because I'm still playing, and so with touring, and I'm so busy that and immersed in what I'm trying to do, but I still want to make sure that I'm affiliated with that. And so just trying to figure out how we're going to make that. How am I going to be part of that process? And how I can help. And so that's something right there that I would definitely love to take care of.
Well, that would be perfect. I mean, since you are a Jackson State Hall of Famer, it would only be right that you went back in and resurrected this thing and put it back on proper track and get people excited about it. So super excited. However, we can help in any of those endeavors, please don't be shy. We are here. We have resources. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna support you.
I will definitely remember that because definitely going to be reaching out at some point.
No, we got you. I promise you, we got you. I'm a music guy, so before we let you go, what is the song that adds value to the soundtrack of your life? That record or song that allows you to go get it, go get that bag, allows you to wake up in the morning and go get that one that you play right before you start that tournament. You have the headphones on. What is that song that you could share with our audience today that inspires and motivates you?
So I was actually talking to my friend earlier, and I was like, it would be really funny if I said Uncle Luke scarred, but that's not it. That would just be a reminder of what I'd be doing if I didn't play golf. No, I'm just playing. um, no, I like A. Marie's "Gotta Work."
Mm.
So that her lyrics in itself just kind of resonate my life in general. Like it's there's days where I'm just like, I don't want to do this. I just want to I just want to lay in a bed or just go to the mall or just, do something to distract myself from having to do a grueling practice session because I was hitting like crap yesterday and I know I got to work this out before I head out of town. Um, and there's just, especially like I've had investors, flake. And it's just like you could give up so easily, but you just got to keep going and find another way to make it happen.
No, I love it. For those who are watching and listening, Shasta has an amazing story. Make sure you check her out. Golf is like life. Every day you're going to go up to swing and you got a shot. Some of it's going to be subpar. Sometimes you're going to be on par, but you have another hole coming up that you can start all over and make it
Right.
right the next time. Shasta, where can they follow you? Where can we see you? Website? Give us all the information.
So my website is shastaveryhardt.com. And I have a Facebook, a Twitter, and Instagram. And my Facebook is my name. I have a fan page, Shasta Averyhardt Golf. Instagram, Shasta Averyhardt, and Twitter is I am S Averyhardt. And I'm pretty active on there. And especially now that we have a little bit, more downtime. Well, I have downtime at least. I'm not really working, So I'm just figured I would engage a lot more, kind of sharing a little bit of my daily routine, um, and just engage more with my fans. And I did a live Instagram, um, like maybe a few weeks ago, just answer some questions and stuff. So I've never done that before, and it's kind of like you're live and you're talking, like people are interacting with you, and I was nervous to do it, but I was like, you got to do it, and it was cool, it was fun. So I might do another one of those. So that's where you can follow me.
Yeah, we have to get on there and do one of those as well.
Yeah, that would be fun.
We'll make that happen. What are you doing now during the COVID to get your get yourself focused? Some people are very uh, anxious. Anxiety has set in. Some people are depressed. For you, what is the best piece of advice you could give people that you're going through right now to just remain sane and remain hopeful that we will get through this time? Because as the good book says, and this too shall pass. What words of wisdom, encouragement can you give those who are going through that right now?
Well, I would say I know a lot of people are really like struggling. A lot of people. There's what 22 million people unemployed, and that's just the horrific number of people to be out of work. And I know a lot of people are stressed and they're worried. And I would say the best advice I could give you is, some things are uncontrollable. There's just some things we just won't be able to control, unfortunately. But to try to find some type of positive of what you can do. If you're at home and you're not doing anything, if you've had a dream about something, or something you've been putting off for months or years, try to tap into that. Like, if there's books that you like, I was gonna read this, I'm gonna do that, like do it now. Um, if you have a hunch on starting a business, try to do some of the research and get some of that stuff gathered up now. So then when the quarantine is lifted, you can get started. And just know that this is not permanent, it's temporary. And if you need to lean on somebody, or people, if you need help, don't be afraid to ask for help. That's a big thing. Like, you want to be independent and take care of yourself and your family. But if you need help, reach out and ask. People are willing to help, because not everybody is suffering during
Right.
this time period, but there a lot are, and I'm sure it can be very mentally draining. And I just know that if you need help, definitely just reach out to those around you, and I'm sure people love to help people.
People, please, if you see the name Shasta Averyhardt, if you see her on Instagram, Twitter, follow her, like what she's doing. If you have the opportunity to see her, come to your city on the LPGA tour. Please get a ticket. Bring your young people out to see her so that they can be inspired. Shasta, we love you, sis. We are proud. We appreciate you. Appreciate your time. Keep doing what you're doing. Make sure you like us. Make sure you follow us. This is June Archer for the Winner's Circle. Motivate you. Thank y'all for tuning in for my amazing guest, Miss Shasta Averyhardt.
Thank you, June. Thanks for having me.